What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We all know that the Western comic book industry is dead. In fact, a single comic book in the manga series, I believe it was Demon Slayer, outsold the entirety of the West. That's how many people have abandoned modern day Western comic books for actual true storytelling. Now, of course, we could go down the road and talk about how, anime and manga are just superior in storytelling, I believe, but it's also superior in artistic freedom, and, well, interesting content. That's why most people are just abandoning modern day progressive comic books in the West, because that's what they are. They hire a bunch of weirdo SJWs who live 7 to an apartment, and then they come up with the most garbage comic book on the planet so they can have a self-fulfilling prophecy and then go on to complain that white men aren't buying their books. Just like Emilia Clarke's new comic book, which follows a single mom whose secret weapon is her period. Now, smash like if you are curious as to why nobody wants to buy Western comic books anymore. Now, turns out Variety, which is obviously a left-leaning website, has tried to bury this stunning and brave story with a clickbaity title because everyone's just so angry. But we can take a look at the quote tweets. "Can't wait to unlock my secret powers of being a real bee in 3 weeks. Oh my god, first TERF superhero, I love the representation." Of course, it's a man who wrote this. Variety, usually so on the money, doing their best to help women-hating men. Reading up on the project, so layered, so unique, and they reduce it to woefully false one-line jab. You could keep it, then people are just either memeing on it or they're raging about how this isn't a fair representation of it. We'll have to see. Agree with everyone. Variety, the headline designed for folks to make fun of. So strange from yourselves. Repost with a better caption. So people are really angry. Read the article. Please read the article before judging. Variety just sucks. So read Variety, but don't read Variety. I don't know. Maya's power isn't literally her period. Her powers are just activated when she's on her period. I mean, is that distinction really that important? It's still tied to it. I feel like this is a Gwyneth Paltrow thing. Let's take a look at this amazing article. Emilia Clarke's. As a kid in London, Emilia Clarke got a distinct vibe from her local comic book shop. No girls allowed. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I would bet a large sum of money that the category that they would place this statement in on Jeopardy would be things that never happened. Also appearing in this category are things like the woke 8-year-old and the kid who asked their parents at Christmas time for a Ruth Bader Ginsburg action figure. But I digress. The Emmy nominee and lead of the HBO pop culture juggernaut Game of Thrones was therefore doomed to spend her adolescence reading hand-me-down comics from her older brother and meeting Cape Crusaders on the big screen. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to just call this out right now. How old is this woman? Hold on a second. She's 34. So she could always buy comics on the internet her entire childhood or view them online. Okay. So this never happened. I read a lot of fantasy novels full of rich worlds. I read them as a child, like Lord of the Rings, and was always the place my imagination would gravitate towards. How did you get that Lord of the Rings book to read? Didn't the library also say no girls allowed? By the way, the library also has tons of comic books. Well, usually they're graphic novels, but at least mine did. And I lived in a small town. Later on, when I went into Comic-Con for the first time at 22 with Game of Thrones, I was amazed by what I saw. Almost entirely men. Later, as the tides turned in the industry and Me Too emerged, I began to look at the community through those eyes, and it was arresting, she said. Let me tell you, there is absolutely females in geekdom, fandom. There are absolutely tons of women that love Game of Thrones. What you have here is this common lie that is perpetrated by fake woke fandoms, new fans and you fans. We saw this in Magic the Gathering all the time. There were lots of women that played Magic the Gathering. Lots. But women did not prefer to play competitive Magic. Just like women in general, statistically speaking, don't prefer to play competitive sports. They enjoy, that doesn't mean they don't enjoy sports. They just aren't as inclined to play on the competitive side. So every year, Magic the Gathering would roll out the same garbage, insulting the male player base, saying that they were gatekeeping the community. When the reality was, if a female Magic player wanted to play competitive Magic, she would have been welcomed greatly by the overwhelmingly male community. I've languished ever since since I was 13 years old until 18. I spent 20 hours a week in various local game shops. And if a girl ever walked in, everyone was tripping over themselves to make them feel welcome. Now, maybe sometimes that came off as cringy or off-putting and they wouldn't come back. But it was never because, like, guys didn't, oh my God, a girl here? Oh, what a terrible thing. I might actually meet somebody that I can date or meet a friend, a female who has other female friends that we can expand our friendship group. Or, you know, the idea, oh, here's somebody who doesn't smell. I mean, this whole idea that men gatekeep, are you kidding me? There are millions of comic book nerds that would absolutely love if their girlfriends or wives got into the same thing. I've never met a dude in my life, not saying they don't exist, but I've never met one that was like, no girls allowed. This is just a lie. Clarke started dreaming about what comic book might look like from her perspective, a notion that quickly gained steam, but I thought it was no girls allowed. She recruited an all-female creative team. Wait a minute, Emilia. Are you saying that that discriminatory practices were bad and then you just went and discriminated against all the great male artists? I got you. Okay. And made a comic featuring what is undoubtedly one of the most progressive female heroes in the genre. Mom, Mother of Madness, will publish in July from Image Comics, of course, co-written by Clarke and nobody cares, with art from Leela Lentz. In doing my research, I found that 16% of comic book creators are female, according to a 2019 study, and only 30% of comic book characters are women. Okay. Name one thing stopping women from making comic books. Like, don't just say something, like actually provide evidence. It's never been easier to make your own comic book. Indiegogo has produced millions in sales for independent comic books. Sometimes women just aren't as interested in something. This would be like saying, well, there's only 10% of nurses are men. This is a problem. Why? It's just choices that people make. She's a single mom that likes to get stuff done. This was born from the idea that single mothers are superheroes. You need a superhuman strength to do that. When you get into your 30s and your friends start having kids, you're like, oh my God, I wasn't aware that's what it took. Holy moly. Another key identifier the character is that all of her powers manifest from her menstrual cycle. The bloating, the hair growth, the mood swings, the acne, all of it. I can't imagine. I'm sure this book will sell tens of copies. Who on Maya utilizes inflated boobs to help thwart a human trafficking ring? When it comes to the menses, the actors think it's way past time that we normalize something. I mean, look, if you're a female comic book creator, I implore you to not, if you think you want to sell books, okay, and be entertaining, please don't write books about your period. So what's going to happen is when this book doesn't sell, and believe me, it won't, then they're going to what? Blame men for it and say that men didn't like it because it was an all-female cast, all-female team. I can tell you right now that this book sounds like absolute garbage. Garbage. And men and women will agree by not purchasing this book. Sure, you'll have a few clowns who are just weird stands of Emilia Clarke and her caterpillar-like eyebrows, and they'll buy it and they'll take a selfie with it on Twitter and talk about how it changed their life. And then there'll be someone who says their 6-year-old, they got this comic book for their 6-year-old and they came to them crying and saying how empowering it was. But those will all be lies. Just like the lies that women are barred from comic books in any way, shape, or form. Quality first. That's what sells. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.